Welcome back to Citizen Extra, the second hour now, live on Citizen TV. We immediately cross over to Moi Girls High School, where a Requiem Mass was expected to start at 10 o'clock, about 30 minutes now into it. We expect it to have started, but let's get an update now from Sylvia Chebet. Sylvia, kindly just walk us through what is expected in that Requiem Mass, and of course, what the school is doing to recover, bearing in mind 9 girls lost their lives in that fire at the Cabernet dormitory. Girls lost their lives in that fire at the
Yes, indeed, Wahiga. It's a chilly morning, a very sad day here at Moi Girls Nairobi School, where 9 girls, as you rightly pointed out, lost their lives in a deadly inferno. They were consumed as they slept on that fateful night on the 2nd of September. Of course, the subject of, or the cause of the fire that led to this great loss is now something that the court is trying to determine. As you may be aware, a girl is now facing charges, 9 counts of murder and arson attack charges, of which charges that the minor has denied. However, that legal process has kicked off. That is an incident that changed the course of the day here in the school, the course of this term. It's a very somber mood here, Wahiga. Girls and parents already gathering or converging here at this on this field to commemorate or to pay tribute to 9 of their colleagues, 9 girls whom they had grown fond of each other, 9 girls whose absence or departure is a great loss to their parents, particularly Wahiga, one girl, Natalie Nanga, whom we understand is the only child of a single mother. Great pain for that mother, and of course Whitney Kerubo also, whom we are told just reported that fateful day to school and did not survive the fire. Others include, of course, Alakir Malong, Hawa Aziz, Esther Nema, Hannah Jaiso, Mary Jengo, a girl who has been praised and for her bravery, her courage. She saved several girls, we are told, that night before she was herself overwhelmed by the flames. Wahiga. We also have Marcia Otieno, Nancy Wamuthere, beautiful souls whose lives were cut short abruptly, and the school, of course, describes them as jewels that can never be replaced. We await now for the arrival of dignitaries. We understand Her Excellency Mrs. Rachel Ruto, together with education officials, will be gracing this occasion. And of course, of great interest to the parents seated here today and others across the country is safety of their children in school. It's a worrying situation, Wahiga. Many parents, of course, have to let their children go study in schools wherever in this country, but their safety definitely has to be guaranteed. That is what perhaps the Education Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i or any official from that ministry will be keen to assure parents of. And of course, we understand the report, the school fire or unrest report that was concluded about 4 months ago. Its implementation remains a bit unclear to the mass majority, and therefore those are the issues that parents would like to hear. We are told in the report, of course, issues of to enhance safety of the students include 2 large exits in the dormitories, no grills on the windows, fire extinguishers equipped and placed in positions that would ensure easy access should a fire incident arise. And of course, everybody's wish is that students appreciate the danger of taking this route to express their dissatisfaction at anything, be it the administration, their parents or their colleagues. They have definitely seen how dangerous and how painful it can get to take this route to express their dissatisfaction, Wahiga. We expect, we are waiting for those dignitaries to arrive, and probably when they do so, then this function can begin. The bodies of the girls will not be brought here, we are told. Instead, it will be their pictures that will be placed on the tables here. Certainly a very emotional day for this school, Wahiga.
Well, thank you so much, Sylvia Tibet, for that update. Truly a sad, somber ceremony there at Moi Girls High School, Nairobi. We certainly hope the prayers will bring comfort to the whole fraternity there. And of course, once again, our condolences to the family and friends of those who lost their lives in that tragic incident that happened on the 2nd of September. Thank you, Sylvia, once again. Well, we carry on with our discussion in studio, still continuing to review that petition by Honorable Gonjiri Wambugu, for which he sought rather to ask the Judicial Service Commission to start the process by which the Chief Justice David Maraga can be sacked, and he brings various reasons. But I want to bring in Honorable Kaluma into this particular discussion, something that we were talking about just a couple of minutes ago, where you were stating that whereas to the people at home, this petition might not look like it carries any merit, and some have called it dead on arrival. You feel that Kenyans should take this petition much more seriously. Why so?
I've had the privilege to serve as a member of parliament dealing with the removal of independent, public servants in the last parliament.
The 11th parliament.
And I can tell you, Waiga, all petitions that came before us, on the face of it, lacked merit. And by the way,
can you give us an example?
I can give you.
Just for the benefit of our viewers.
In Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, you remember, for instance, when Matemu was being removed as the chair of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. As a lawyer, I sat and I was asking, what is this ground, if you look at the grounds upon which you can remove a commissioner, more so the chair of a commission, on the face of it? There was none. And Micah, you'd remember there were even media reports of serious disagreements leading even to what a media termed fist cuts between members. And you remember up to 3 reports were made by Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. Made the first one in Nairobi. When we went to Mombasa, because we made a decision in Nairobi to dismiss the petition. When we retreated to Mombasa, the Jubilee team came and said, no, our instructions are now removal. Remember, we were asking, is it instructions or what is the merits or the grounds
of the proof
of the petition?
Of the petition.
We resisted the change there. A meeting was then held when we returned to Nairobi to adopt a report. The report which was to dismiss following our resistance in Mombasa. And the members of Justice and Legal Affairs Committee were called to State House. And you would review your media reports. When they came to the room, they said, no, we are not adopting the report, copies of which we were given the previous day to read. We have instructions to change the decision of the committee. And of course, by their numbers, the tyranny of numbers, they changed the report, and Matemu went home. What I'm saying is that,
in a nutshell,
as the people of Kenya, this particular petition should not be looked at in terms of the merits as the lawyer was talking about. Remember the current composition of the Judicial Service Commission. Remember, the Chief Justice is the chair of the Judicial Service Commission. But because he's the subject matter of this petition, he will not sit there.
Okay.
Remember, in the 11th Parliament, we had the occasion to replace members of the Judicial Service Commission, particularly those ones who are representing, the general public. And you remember the fight Jubilee had bringing Bet there. You remember the fight Jubilee had bringing Winnie Guchu, who had been, in the campaign secretariat of President Uhuru Kenyatta in the 2013 elections, if you can remember. And remember, Winnie Guchu is there. Remember, Bet is there. Remember, Attorney General Gitu Muigai is there. You must be knowing that the Law Society of Kenya has 2 representatives there, and you know how divided the Law Society is politically currently.
So so you feel that it could be either faction of the Law Society that is represented?
Let me tell you.
Yes.
In the current composition of JEC, and having seen how President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto fought for Bet and Winnie Guchu to be in JEC, we would be fools as Kenyans
to ignore,
to blink and ignore this as a useless thing.
So you are saying there is a possibility somewhere that Honorable Wambugu was not acting out of sheer
this is the threat,
trying to make a point, but rather that he could actually be seeing the end.
This is the threat. The president himself knew, let me tell you, Aiga, the procedure for removing CJ.
Talking about the
when he threatened to deal with them. No, Aiga, I have to mention this. To the people of Kenya, this is the threat. And this is how it is going to be executed. And my request is that don't blink, don't flinch. You blink and flinch, we will lose the last institution called the judiciary to undergird our good governance.
I want to bring you both in with some graphics for the benefit of our viewers. Let's put that now on the screen. The procedure by which you may remove a judge of the Supreme Court from office. And we have that now. Then I can bring in Gabriel and Steve Ogola just to comment. If the Chief Justice, for one reason or the other, has been unable to perform due to mental or physical incapacity, this is one of the grounds for which you can remove a Chief Justice or even a judge of the Supreme Court. A breach of the judge's code of conduct as well. And Steve or Gabriel, you can even just comment as we carry on.
Correct. But see, I know we are only at number 1, but I've been able to go all the way until E, and I think this is where Honorable Mujiri is basing his. Let me
pause you there. Okay, so let's just try and finish this real quick. Bankruptcy, another reason by which you can.
We all know. I don't think anybody has filed in bankruptcy. Incompetent. I don't think nobody is arguing on incompetency. Where I think Wambogo Mujiri is heading or putting us is a gross misconduct or behavior.
Okay, which is just coming up in E, which actually is what should be coming up on the screen now.
Exactly, and he has gone on further to say, you know what? It seems the Chief Justice has been acting or has an underhand of the regime changes. And in fact, that is what, if you look at the whole of this document, that is what he's basing his entire gross misconduct and misbehavior on. For instance, and again, I mean, go to the section that we are talking about. You know, the removal of a Chief Justice may be initiated only by the Judicial Service Commission acting on its own motion or on the petition of any person to the Judicial Service Commission. So, like I was telling you earlier, he's within his rights. But move along, I mean, to the document that we are all reading here, and you see the Chief Justice must therefore, this is a caption I'm taking, explain the circumstances of his visit to Lithuania and his interactions thereof, especially considering that Lithuania is known as a crossroad for regime change activists and their intelligence handlers. So all these are actually put in on this document. And so JSC also have they actually been given the mandate to look at it. No, it doesn't matter how crude or how crazy we may talk about these documents. I think Kaluma, you'll agree with me, Honorable, that they have to look at it in its entirety.
They have no choice but to look at it in entirety.
And what he is saying, it may arrive DOA. As much as it will, they must look into it and see, can these guys substantiate? Because, I mean, when you're starting to accuse, and these are crazy, and they are very serious accusations. And I agree with Kaluma, these are serious accusations.
They are very serious accusations.
I agree. No, these are serious accusations. When you say a Chief Justice,
I thought they are
hang on for the benefit of our audience. Hold on, Gabriel, hold on. So what we're showing is just a continuation of the process by which you can remove a CJ. What we had shown initially were the reasons why you would have grounds to be able to move to the Judicial Service Commission. But what we're seeing now on the screen is the process where it talks about the Judicial Service Commission shall consider the petition, as we've talked about, and if it is satisfied, that's the next line, and if satisfied on grounds, send the petition to the President. Then the President shall have 14 days, within 14 days after receiving the petition, to suspend the judge from office and acting in accordance with the recommendation.
Yeah, so I'm agreeing with Honorable Kaluma. These are serious allegations.
These are senile allegations.
For you, okay, go ahead.
I'm saying the people of Kenya should not take them for granted.
Yeah.
I've been with Uhuru Kenyatta as president in the 11th parliament, and I know what they do when they want to remove him.
Steve, come in, weigh in on this matter.
I think, having said that this petition is dead on arrival, I would not want to dedicate more time to interrogate what it contains. But suffice to say that it gives us an opportunity to animate judicial independence. Very important, because the independence of the judiciary is assured by the Constitution. This is an opportunity to test it, because they are supposed to work without fear or favor, or maybe fear or improper influence. You get. And if someone files a petition, the second level of argument now that will emerge, which is the pathway to determination. Remember, now, you file a petition with the JSC. JSC will consider, make a determination whether it is meritorious or it is scandalous. If it is scandalous, as I think this one is, because, you see, the influence map brings in civil society. And I've said before, Wahiga, the role of civil society is not to hero worship or to calibrate the benefits of the development record of the government. We need a robust, independent, and critical civil society that is able to be a soundboard of the people and say, hey, the government, while you perform your functions, can you be sure that you do it the right way, faithful implementation of the Constitution? most of the time, and I think this is why Honorable Wambugu is trying to rope in the civil society unnecessarily. You see, most of the time you'll find that there's a confluence of interest between the role of the civil society and what the political opposition, like Honorable Kaluma here's faction NASA, what they care for. There may be a confluence of interest that the civil society and the political opposition care for checking the government. And that's not a bad thing. That is expected within the design of our constitution. The political opposition need not to apologize for it. Civil society need not to apologize for it. The judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission is alive to that functional area. So if you bring a petition cooked on this conspiracy, it is likely to suffer loss because of being scandalous. But
Honorable Kaluma has raised or shown us a critical path by which this petition could then become
that's what I was going to analyze.
Reality. This is the president's clearance.
If the JC were to find for all the charitable assumptions that this petition has merit, the JC must then recommend the president to form a tribunal within 14 days. Remember, both the JC and the tribunal are required by the constitution to operate without undue influence from anyone. So it doesn't matter the composition. In fact, both the JC itself and even the tribunal have an opportunity to animate their own independence because of this petition. But remember, if there was any level of influence, which I don't think will happen, remember, Chief Justice Maraga has another level of opportunity to challenge that back to the Supreme Court. And this is the same Supreme Court that you are castigating because of this decision. The CJ has a right of audience before the Supreme Court. If the JSC makes a recommendation to the president to empanel a tribunal, the president appoints that tribunal, the tribunal indicts the Chief Justice. He is able to go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has indicated that for them they care about the faithful implementation of the Constitution. But finally, let me highlight something which seems to be escaping everyone.
Briefly, we need to cross over to Nyeri County.
In Munya's case, the Chief Justice was on record. He made a decision that mirrors exactly what he said in the Supreme Court during 2017. He says that the IBC cannot be excused. The bare minimum expectation is that the IBC will be competent and IBC will be open in the execution of its mandate. It is there. The Munya decision, lawyers have read it, and that is the same decision, that's the same judicial philosophy he carried to the Supreme Court. Why was he not targeted then in the Munya decision, but now it's being targeted? Because it's a political affair and built on political conspiracy. This petition is dead on arrival.
Steve, I brought you here.
Only fit for
I brought you here to answer questions.
Very quickly.
Gabriel,
that's what I was saying.
Out of order.
No.
I need to cross over to Nyeri County.
If we can look at Justice Maraga, we also looked at Justice Tonoi. He was put on the hot seat. It is not wrong to interrogate. That's all I'm saying. It is not wrong to interrogate these judges.
Your point has come across. Let's Honorable Kaluma, hold on. Let's cross over now to Nyeri County, where we join Martin Munene. We know that President Uhuru Kenyatta expected to officially open the ASK show, the Central Region one. Let's now see whether the president has arrived and also get an update from residents of Nyeri County. Their member of parliament, Nyeri Town member of parliament, has moved this petition to the Judicial Service Commission. Do they agree with him? Do they understand his intention? Let's listen in now. Martin, can you give us those updates?
All right, thank you very much, Wahiga Maura. And indeed, like you said, we are at the ASK grounds in Kafiroini Stadium, where the president is expected to be opening this show officially, but he has not yet come, and preparations are still ongoing. And just minutes ago, the army was in the stadium marching the drills, just making sure that everything is going on as it should go. And just like you said, the petition that has been taken by one of the members of parliament from Nyeri County, and with me is one of the residents who actually voted in a Nyeri Town constituency that Gonjiri Wambogo represents, to give us a feel of what he feels concerning that particular petition. Kindly, if you can join me here, do you feel that your interest as a Nyeri resident and as a person who lives in the constituency Honorable Gonjiri Wambogo represents, do you feel represented by this petition?
I feel represented. One, I'm very happy for the way our sitting member of parliament Gonjiri Wambogo has kicked off as a new member of Nyeri Town. We are very glad for the way he has taken his petition. because as Nyerians we feel we were robbed of our victory.
All right, and that is what you feel as an individual. And do you feel that in this coming election on the 17th of October, what happened in Nyeri County in terms of voting for President Uhuru Kenyatta will be repeated?
I think this time round we shall vote overwhelmingly, because the other time at around 3 we are on our lines, and we are very happy of the turnout, and we hope this time round it will be marvelous.
Alright, so that is the feeling on the ground. Some people feeling they are actually represented by Honorable Gunjiri Wambogo in that petition. They feeling that they had a victory, and that victory was robbed, and it was taken away from them rather. And they are saying that they will go back on the ballot and actually confirm their choice on the 8th of August that they had actually indeed elected President Uhuru Kenyatta. And back here at the ASK show, we will keep informing you, and our eyes of course are open to let you know exactly when the president arrives. And of course, like I said earlier, preparations are still underway. We can see a lot of people around here facing this side of the stadium. They waiting eagerly for President Kenyatta to arrive. Back to you, Wahiga Mora.
Once again, thank you so much, Martin Munene, for that update from the Kabuirone grounds, Nyeri County, where the ASK show is just about to start. They are waiting, of course, President Uhuru Kenyatta for the official opening of that function. But now we carry on with our discussion in studio. Steve Ogola pleading with me to give him 30 seconds. There's a point that he feels I did not allow him to wind up with. Please do that in 30 seconds.
Well, that is, insofar as the comments are concerned, it need not to go unattended. I think that's a good thing. That the stand that he took on this petition. It shows that within the National Assembly, you have members of the National Assembly and perhaps members of the Senate that are independent. In the Senate, members of the National Assembly and members who sit in the Senate, senators, that are independent and they are not susceptible to manipulation. You can't just railroad people into a predetermined position. And I expect that Honorable Kaluma, when he's analyzing the weaknesses in the JSC, to take that into account, irrespective of whoever appointed them. Remember, Honorable Muthika here also alleges the Jubilee. If there was a conspiracy to push this towards JSC and also for ultimate removal of the CJ, he would have supported it.
Okay.
So the fact that he's here on national television, disassociating himself with what Wambugu has done, must not go unnoticed.
Parliament from which is of the same
and therefore we can then extend the same grace to the JSC, the tribunal, the Supreme Court, that they'll animate their own independence the way Mheshimiwa here is animating
in this studio.
He's animating his own independence as a legislator belonging to the dominant political formation.
On national TV. For those of you who just joined us, of course, we are discussing Honorable Gunjiri Wambugu's petition, the matter that he has brought before the Judicial Service Commission. Before I bring in Senator Linturi, let's briefly listen once again to Honorable Wambugu. This was done about an hour or so ago, just outside the Supreme Court, immediately after he handed over his document, his petition to the Judicial Service Commission. I'm getting so many reactions here in studio. I need to come back and see why. Let's take that up now.
What we have done is, or what my lawyers and I have been doing, is analyzing the process in which this decision of nullification of the presidential election went through. And we have picked some of the utterances that the Chief Justice himself made, including the fact that he hadn't actually read the volumes of documents that he had received, which for me was one of the moments of which I was like, okay, how do you nullify, how do you do such an epic thing when you haven't actually read all the documents that were given to you? I know, yes, he argued that he did not have enough time, but he made a very dramatic decision. The first decision of its kind in Africa, the first decision of its kind, one of 4 decisions of its kind in the world. And that's actually for me was the moment that ignited the need for me to analyze this. We looked back and we have been we've been investigating and looking through some of the things that the judiciary has been doing for the last 4 years. And it appears, as you will see, that the judiciary is actually captive to a group of people who we used to call the pro-ICC NGO brigade. That sounds, even me when I make that statement, it sounds so dramatic, but that's actually what has happened. We have had a group of people who have been interested in ensuring that Uhuru Kenyatta never became president. They started before 2013, they went to court, it failed. He ran for president in 2013, he won, they petitioned, they failed. They went after him on the ICC, it failed. So now we have actually seen what can only be called a judicial coup, where the Kenyan people have decided that they want Uhuru Kenyatta as president, and then the Chief Justice, without explaining why, has decided that that election was not fair, it needed to be redone again. And the challenge is that, assume this was done again, the next election is also nullified. We're actually going to have a crisis. We are going to have, Kenyans cannot hold this together for too long. So I am convinced that the Chief Justice is a player, deliberately or unknowingly, in a judicial coup against the President of the Republic of Kenya. We also, them not come to Parliament for the first time since independence, to the opening of Parliament. I understood that to mean, and I'm a member of Parliament, I understood that to mean that as far as the judiciary is concerned, as far as the Chief Justice is concerned, he does not recognize that Uhuru Kenyatta is President of the Republic of Kenya at this moment in time. Now, nobody had gone to court to challenge the opening of Parliament. So you're left to wonder, on what basis would the judiciary refuse to attend the opening of Parliament? So the only people who have been saying they should not go to Parliament is NASA. So you're starting to ask yourself, are we saying that the Chief Justice and NASA are reading from the same book? If they're reading from the same book, does it mean that the decision to nullify the elections was premeditated? Is that what we are hearing? If it was premeditated because he actually admits he did not manage to go through all the documents he got, then finally, my final position. Elections have always been about numbers. Everywhere, whether you're running for school prefect and you're being elected, whether you're running for chairman of the local cattle lip, or member of parliament, or president, it's always been about numbers. The Chief Justice made an interesting ruling, and it's also based on a journal that he wrote a couple of years ago, that the quality of an election is more important than the quantity of that election. Meaning that even if Uhuru Kenyatta got 10 million votes on 17th of October, and then somebody went to court, a voter goes to court and proves that there was a problem with the process in his polling station, then you can actually nullify that election again. That is a very dangerous precedent that we are setting, because the candidates do not have control over process. They don't have. But then you're telling us that the candidates can keep being punished over and over and over again because of the failures of institutions that have been set up to run an election. I personally think that's unfair. I think it's undemocratic, and so that's why we're here. So we came to ask for, we filed a petition seeking leave from the Judicial Service Commission that for us to actually come and explain why we believe that Chief Justice Maraga was involved in a judicial coup against President Uhuru Kenyatta.
The first statement made by Nyeri Town Member of Parliament Gojiri Wambugu after he moved a petition to the JSC asking them to launch a process of sacking Chief Justice David Kenani Maraga for quote-unquote spearheading regime change over the decision that the Supreme Court made for the nullification of the win of President Uhuru Kenyatta immediately after the August 8th polls. That happened about an hour ago or so, and that forms the discussion in studio, just looking at the merits and demerits of that particular petition. We've just had a chance to briefly glance at that petition with my panelists here in studio. But Honorable Kaluma raised an interesting point, trying to show a critical path by which, as much as you say that this petition lacks merit, nevertheless, the process by which it would go through to move from a petition to actually becoming reality, he feels is quite possible because he sees an agenda pushing this petition forward. I want to give Senator Linturi a chance to respond to that. Even though, Senator, you've come out quite clearly, you don't support the petition, you are not aware of it, and you will not support it moving forward. Nevertheless, do you agree or disagree with the point that Honorable Kaluma has raised, that as much as the petition may not have merit, nevertheless in the past we've seen many other petitions that did not have merit, but somehow they became a reality?
Waiga, I think, allow please me to share my ideas and thoughts, okay, and not to take a position whether I agree with Kaluma or not.
Okay.
But give me the opportunity to appeal to the members.
The floor is yours. Go ahead.
The members of Parliament that have taken oath of office, and one of the greatest thing that I remember, or aspect of the oath that I took, is really defend the Constitution, uphold it, protect it, and personally I will live to that spirit.
Okay.
But it's also important to ask the members. You know, there are times when a time comes when the country is greater than all of us. And at such a time when this matter is in the public domain, and as I said earlier, that it doesn't matter about the merits, about this thing, to me politically and strategically was wrong.
Okay.
And when I look at Wambugu, you know, I also try to look at his background. His background being that of an activist.
Yes,
civil society activism cannot really just get a way out of him just because he's become a member of parliament. And that's why I'm really pleading with the country and my friend Kaluma and everybody else to really get out the idea of the perception that Jubilee as a party or the president may have been involved in the crafting of the petition. That is what I'm really appealing to. But I can tell you, as I said earlier, I think immediately we have an opportunity to discuss, and especially today by 11:30, I'm sure there will be a caucus of members of Jubilee in Parliament where we are likely to meet a number of people who will be sharing these thoughts. And when we do, then we will also be able to make the public aware of what is happening.
Okay.
But when it becomes the issues of the nation, I can tell you, my considerations will be devoid of political party considerations, political party loyalties,
which is what Steve Ogola was
completely
you for.
Yes, because I have a feeling that if we do not take our responsibilities properly as legislators or anyone else that as an opportunity to serve, and knowing very well the position that we under public trust, we cannot just let some of the gains that we've had through the new constitution just slip away.
Okay. I want to pick up on what you said and pose a question to Honorable Kaluma here. You've been very clear that independent institutions need to be left as that, to carry on with their mandate. That's a sign of a strong, growing democracy. You've taken time, nevertheless, here to ask questions about the Judicial Service Commission. Some would think that you're not being fair. On one hand, you're saying leave the Supreme Court as is, don't raise aspersions about it, allow them to do their work. Judicial Service Commission, on the other hand, because we may disagree with some of their members, feel free now to talk about what they are doing and to speculate about what you see, how you see them handling this matter. Is that being fair? And I'm talking both from a party perspective and from an individual perspective. Yes, you as legal counsel.
Let me talk, you know, at an individual position, not a party position. Okay. Remember, this is not what we came to discuss. This thing hit in and it has taken you know, the time and the nation's time because of the weight of it. Okay. Despite you know, the kind of grounds that we have in it. I'm making the statement I'm making in the context I gave when we started discussing this matter. And the context is this, if I can summarize it in 1 minute. Okay. We have a president whose election is annulled by the Supreme Court. Correct. The president of which is the person being petitioned. Correct. We have that president threatening in public, one, abusing those judges, calling them wakora, by the way, first singling out this particular judge being petitioned for discipline. If you have grounds, genuine grounds like the ones being mentioned here, they would have raised them to disqualify Maraga from hearing that case. And but they allow me to clarify that even if Judge Maraga did not participate in the case, still it would have been 3 against 2. I don't know this obsession by Jubilee with Maraga. Then you have this president saying, we will revisit, we will fix. The other context I'm giving you, which you are ignoring, and which I need to clarify, is that this is a president who knows the law. And by the way, is as sworn to protect the Constitution. And he knows to fix, to revisit, or to deal with these judicial officers in any manner. You need to go through this process we've been elaborating here. This is a president who has had the fortune of having the Judicial Service Commission, which is the first station for undertaking this process, changed at his hand. And remember, I've explained to you how heavy-handed he was over Parliament when he wanted replacements to that body. Okay. And then he got in people, including some 20 members. Yes. I'm moving in that direction.
You're moving in that direction. Correct. Please get there.
Correct. Now, you have a president threatening, and a president who has a judicial service commission, which essentially is his judicial service commission. And the president who knows,
can you quantify that statement? Otherwise, why isn't it called the president's judicial service commission?
That is to legitimize.
It is his. Are you not doing it?
You know, Maiga, this is where we lose this nation. When we sit and we become theoretical about these things. I mean, you may think it is theoretical. Why is Ouko petitioned in Parliament, and why have we been debating it for over 2 years? Is there a ground you see there? But you see people like Duale telling you to date, immediately we assemble, we are removing Ouko. Why? What I'm telling you is that there is the law. And what has been happening, in fact, out of our privileged, information as members of Parliament. And I'm telling you, Mipika may be as liberal as he is, and is my friend for that. But he also knows that when this particular president wants Parliament to take a position, Parliament never debates for liberal minds like his to be had. Parliament is chaperoned, is called to State House, and they come there saying, we have tyranny of numbers, put the question, we say, we go home. And people
because if you
so I'm saying, you may take advantage in the position Linturi is giving you and think that there are some sober people somewhere there. But I can tell you, knowing the background of this thing which I've given,
yes,
this is President Uhuru's thing.
Let's the only solution
the only solution we have, and the lack, I can tell you, is standing between Maraga and removal, is that we have an election coming in. We must just remove Uhuru and Ruto, they go home.
I need to stop you there.
Allow me to say something about the JSC. I don't think, and this is what I was talking against, you cannot delegitimize, and we were agreeing here with Wakili, a body like JSC, while you're on the same time validating the Supreme Court. It is wrong. You cannot pigeonhole and say the makeup of this commission is Uhuru-based or Raila-based. I will not support that. And the fact that we are talking about praising Honorable Lithika's position as somebody who has a mind of his own, we should also encourage the likes of Honorable Kaluma to also, when you are also engaged in such things where you want to take a party position, first and foremost, you think right. Okay? We said, and it's not the leaders, so to speak, they all talk about defending the Constitution, and I think that should be the supreme element of upright thinking
above
in a democracy, above that, and that's what I'm saying. So when you look at the issue that we're talking about calling a Supreme Court Yawakora or Yamagendo, there is one thing you shouldn't forget, that both Uhuru and Raila Odinga agree on one thing, that the will of the people cannot be diverted or subverted by 7 people.
7-judge bench.
They agree on that one. No, and Raila said that. Raila said it.
I think Raila
said it in Mombasa during Governor Joho swearing in. You have the tapes. You have the tapes.
Okay. I'll give you a chance.
You have the tapes and you can look at. But that is what he said. The subversion of the will of the people, 15 million, cannot be done by 7 people. They seem to agree on that. The other thing, when you look at again pigeonholing, and this is what I'm against. You are talking about a decision that the Supreme Court made. And the same Supreme Court said the respondent, one, will be able to carry out this exercise. You again go back and say no. On one end, you agree to that verdict, but you also want to pigeonhole and say, these people, before we went into election, 1, 2, 3, and there's an independent institution. And he said independent institutions should be respected. So, it doesn't sit properly when you say this one we respect and then the other one, which is an independent, we have to pigeonhole and remove people. If you look at the list, if you look at the list that you saw, the people who are to go, I mean, you don't have to have any extended legal knowledge to understand that. You are actually looking at people from 2 trades. And that is wrong. I am calling on the fact that you cannot pigeonhole on any institution. Let them run. Under the law. I mean, questioning the Chief Justice. And that's why I'm saying, Honorable, our good Honorable from Nyeri,
eaten into Steve's I need to take a break.
He has a constitutional mandate to do as he did.
Thank you, Gabriel. Steve, can you hold your thoughts? We'll be right back. We carry on with this discussion. We take a short break now, but we're coming right back to talk more about the Supreme Court and, of course, the petition by Nyeri Town Member of Parliament, Kunjiri Wambugu. You're watching Citizen Extra live on Citizen TV.